This is Talk is Sheep, the official podcast of the Wild Sheep Society of BC, brought to you by Sitka Gear. Come along as we bring conversations that matter to you into the high alpine. This episode is sponsored by our conservation partner, Yeti. Thank you, Sitka Gear and Yeti, for investing in healthy wildlife and sustainable ecosystems.
Yeah. Awesome. So we're going to record this. We'll put it up on the YouTuber, and we'll get her on, we'll talk as sheep and spread the great word. Obviously, you've done a ton of work for us over the years, Adam, and others as well. And I know you do a lot of work with Dylan from Eat Wild and so many other platforms. And just a great advocate for conservation and for sheep hunters, and a guy that really walks the walk, talks the talk, and has that sort of that ethic that, like, I aspire to have. Old, mature rams and doing it the right way. Is it true? So I had to do my research, and I do it every single time, and I always come up with the same stuff. And every time I go, oh my goodness! But are you the youngest guy to kill 4 sheep with a bow? Like, you were 24 or something when you had all 4 with your archery? Is that correct?
Something like that at some point, yeah. That's like a long time ago before I had so many gray hairs and little kids running around and that sort of thing. There's a guy named Lincoln Tapp who has it, who broke it. I believe that he got all 4 with a bow. I think he killed one with a rifle, then he went back. Who's a great guy. That guy's awesome. Super avid hunter, and yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Very cool. So tonight's pretty free flow style. We're just going to be talking about hunting. Obviously, sheep season opens in 3 weeks, I guess. That's scary to think about.
Yeah.
And amazing to think about. Super stoked for that. Just as an aside, did you get any draws? You got
Negative.
Yeah. Okay. So
Negative.
there you have it.
That's okay.
Yeah. Awesome. So obviously you got a great fall plan, though. I know I think I talked to Ben Barakoff, and he tried to get you up to Jurassic, and you're like, no, I'm gone hunting. So Jurassic's always a terrible time for having anything planned. That's one thing Tom was always giving me a hard time with. It's like, well, who would plan something like that in hunting season? So yeah, fair enough.
It's just it's good for the Alberta guys. It's right before their opener, so they can come over and bang around and then go back and hunt their opener. But yeah, for the BC guys, it's tough to have it. But it's a great event. I've been once, I think. Yes, just once, and it was awesome. It was a blast. Dean and everybody, and yeah, tons of fun.
Yeah, awesome. So tonight's pretty freestyle. We've done 3 webinars already, and each one of those were a bit prescriptive. We did a presentation, and we had Q&A afterwards. And tonight, at your urging, Adam, it's like, hey, let's just do a free-for-all Q&A style. So we had the opportunity for people to weigh in early on. They could send questions into us. Anything they want to ask Adam, truth be told, anything you want to ask about hunting, sheep hunting, bow hunting. Adam's an expert on every single one of those and other stuff too. So we're going to unpack that tonight. We do have a couple of ways that you can reach out. So I think a few people have emailed me. You can still email, but now that we're live, there's a Q&A feature. So if you go down on your bar, on your system there, you can do Q&A, and you can send us questions in. So you just type it in there, and then I'll sort of moderate it, get it over to Adam, and then he can kind of work through it. But kind of before we do that, I do have a few to get us going here that came in ahead of time. We'll just do a real quick bio on you yourself, and obviously no stranger to most people on this webinar, but obviously bow hunter, photographer, filmmaker, and when I look at you, like a hunter, but conservationist first, you're always advocating for wild places, wild sheep, mountain hunting, the mountain hunting community. And one thing I've always had the highest level of respect about for you, Adam, is the support you've given conservation organizations, the people that are trying to support these movements. And then the other thing I love about you is in the true Foss nature is you hold people accountable. So you're like, hey guys, like, let's do these good things. And then when we don't do as good a job, you hold us accountable too. And that's amazing. And I love that because when we work with you, there's a higher standard, a higher expectation, in a good way. And it's always positive. It's like, hey, we didn't hit that out of the park like we could have, and we could have done this, or, hey guys, let's do this and we could do it better. So I love it when you show up, and I see Foss at the end of any message I get or call. There's going to be probably a concern and also a solution. And that's the kind of people I want to work with. So
Thanks, Kyle.
just a lot of respect there for that. So obviously no shortage of history on your hunting experience, your bow hunting and everything that you've done in that stuff, in that space. I'd love to talk tonight about some of the mental and physical aspect, and that's one thing I've heard you talk a lot about before. And there's always I know guys always hit you up with gear and gals. They want to, oh, what's the latest gear? What do we do here? What do we need there? And that's critical too. But I think the one thing I always learned so much about from you is like that sheep hunter mentality, that mountain hunting mentality, what it takes to be successful physically, mentally, and so much other stuff. So I'm sure we're going to get a bunch of questions on that tonight. But anyway, I'm not going to do it justice. I don't know if anyone's seen Ben Barakoff's post about you on it when we posted that you're coming on the webinar. And
I haven't even seen.
oh my gosh, like I just was in tears. It was pretty impactful, to be honest with
This
you.
is
But
this is the nicest intro I've ever had at anything in my life. I feel like
yeah, yeah.
thanks,
Anyway,
Kyle.
thanks for being here. And really excited about tonight. Really, and we'll just flow. Like when you get tired, you tell us. We'll shut it down. And if the questions keep coming and everybody's keen to hear more and you're happy to go, but I think you had an adult beverage there, didn't you?
Well, I'm just saying, once I got a couple of drinks off. Cheers to everybody here off camera. So I guess if I run out of them and run out of gas, then it's over. But I got
It's
enough.
over. Awesome. Cool. All right. So yeah, let's kick things off. And I got a couple questions ahead of time. The first question that came up was, and it's straight to the heart of the matter here, and it's very appropriate for you. But the question was, if you're mentoring someone on their very first archery dull sheep hunt, what are the three things you tell them to master before they show up?
Great question. I would say, man, that's such a good question. Yeah, I think I would sort of break it up specifically around archery. I think it's just like a different mindset. And when you combine archery, hunting, and sheep hunting, you sort of have this like crossover of, sheep hunting is quite challenging on its own. If you choose to do it with a bow and arrow, it's probably a little bit more challenging. And so I would sort of have probably the most important thing is like having that mindset of you're truly hunting with a bow and arrow for the experience of hunting sheep with a bow and arrow, number one. And you hear a lot of guys, sheep hunting is expensive. And it's only getting more and more expensive. And even if you're a BC resident, it's expensive for time away. And you sort of hear a lot of guys interested in bow hunting on these sort of adventure travel hunts, but they also sort of might say, well, I'd like to bow hunt, but I want to get one, or I'll bring my bow and maybe I'll also bring a gun, or the guide will have a gun. And if it doesn't work out, I'll hunt the animal with a gun. And I think that no judgment, that's totally cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you truly want the experience of bow hunting sheep, you have to be committed to bow hunt sheep because sheep live in challenging places. Quite often you can get, 300 yards, 500 yards. Like they're kind of made to get killed with a rifle in a lot of ways. And that 300 to 60 or getting under 100 yards is where it's extremely challenging. So if you don't have the mindset of, hey, I have no out, I have no safety outlet. If I'm at 150 yards and I can't get any closer, give me the rifle, throw it down. If that's even creeping into your mind, you're sort of already starting off um, on the wrong foot, in my opinion, if you truly want to bow hunt sheep. So I'd say number one, embrace the bow hunter mindset. You're bow hunting, you're going to get, whatever your effective shot range, distance, your aim is to set everything up around that. And so you might look at an animal for 3 or 4 or 5 days and not even stalk it because it's not in a good archery spot. You might, you know, you just have to think about it completely differently. And you have to think about if we could do a whole hour on like that one mindset of archery sheep hunting. But I'd say number one, embrace the bow hunting mindset. I would go gear number two in the sense that you want to sort of master we could go, really critical and technical about archery equipment. But, depending on your bow hunting experience, whoever this person is asking, you want to master your third axis, which is basically when you're encountering steep uphill or steep downhill shots. It's how your bubble is leveled so that you can make sure that the cant of your bow is true. Meaning it's very difficult to tell in steep mountains, even like if you're standing on a steep mountain, what level actually is. So there's adjustment in a lot of these modern compound bow sights that's called a third axis that allows you to take long distance, steep shots and have your bubble truly level. Master your third axis, master your long distance shooting, even if you practice out to 80, 90, 100 yards. If you have no intention of shooting an animal that far, that's totally fine. But 90 makes 60 feel a whole lot shorter. So master your archery equipment and your long distance shooting and your third axis. And number three, I think I would say I would sort of speak more broadly um, about gear, and I think boots and backpacks kill people on first time sheep hunts, first time mountain hunts. I'd say boots maybe more than backpack, but you could sort of apply that to all your gear questions, but put those high up in that. Like if you have a hunt in a month or in a year or in 3 years, you have a deposit down or something, start dialing those two things in, just all sheep hunters. But especially archery sheep hunting, you're probably going to be running out the whole distance of the hunt. You're going to need some at bats. So if you break down these hunts, into these like small bite-sized pieces, you can go about your hunting opportunity and take your at bats. And so you might have a couple of stocks. You sort of need that the percentages to know that some stocks aren't going to work out. You got to take your at bats, and it might take you 8, 9, 10, 12, 14 days. It might take you a couple of hunts to get it done. But the experience of hunting sheep with a bow cannot be traded for checking a box and killing a ram. Those are not, one thing is not better than the other. They're sort of just different. So yeah, mindset, archery equipment, and then those couple of key pieces of gear that kill sheep hunters, I would say, is how I'd round that out.
Awesome. On that same vein, you talk about, okay, like leave the gun at home, just get that out of your brain. What about carrying another tag? It's always a struggle, multi-species, like, oh, I'm going on a sheep hunt, but I'm going to throw a caribou tag in, I'm going to throw a moose tag in. For those that have the luxury doing that, what's your mentality on that? When you go sheep hunting, you just go sheep hunting, you carry a goat tag. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I mean, it sort of varies hunt to hunt, year to year. I think a really good thing to do just before you're hunting, whether you're hunting with a partner, by yourself, a guide, is just sort of start to manifest and envision the hunt that you're trying to achieve and then optimize everything around that, whether that's you want a good old-fashioned supper fest and you want to strip down your kit as light as possible and go as light as possible, and then turn all that weight that you're saving into 14, 16 days of food so you can go farther, than you've ever gone. Or if you want to have a more enjoyable hunt with a buddy or your spouse, or maybe your mentor, think about it that way and optimize your hunt that way. And so if you want to go have an awesome mountain hunting experience and pack around sheep, goat, caribou tag, that's awesome. If you're dedicated to killing a sheep, I would say get a sheep tag, go sheep hunting, hunt in sheep habitat, think about sheep hunting. Don't get distracted by the big white billy goat that's hanging above your camp. Yeah, but I think it's just a really healthy question too, because I think I vary year to year, time to time, and sort of I always learn something last year that I'm applying into this year. Or I had some experience last year and I want to have a different one, or hunted to the edge of something, never got to the spot, and maybe I can get to that spot from a different access point or something. So I think it's just a good thing to like anything in life, manifest your sort of goals, your vision, what you want out of it, and then make all your decisions underneath that sort of master vision that you have for the trip that you're on.
Awesome. So just a reminder, if you have Q&As for Adam, just put your question in the Q&A box there on the platform. So Adam, next question I have for you is, what's the best way to hunt and glass dead space benches where bachelor groups of rams tend to be bedded?
Uh, yeah, I think I would say, everything's so situational dependent, sort of depends on the time of year, but let's say it's like August or early September or something like that. Let's say we're talking about stone sheep, high hunting pressure, probably some timber, some rock, some sort of alpine, subalpine zones. Um, I don't know. I think we talked about this before too, Kyle, maybe on the podcast or maybe just over a couple of beers, but I think that the access to information that we have in terms of like digital mapping technology before a hunt is like really powerful. And I don't want to say that's like totally the way to do it and that's the most important thing. But it is interesting to think about how you can sort of plan your hunts a little bit better. And I think the key thing there is so for glassing, just like thinking about your looks when the sun is going to be coming up, what sort of aspect the sun's going to be hitting, how you can orient yourself the night before to be either, a close hike to the top of the glassing knob, or maybe you're camping just below like a ridge line, managing sort of water, maybe bringing water 1,000 feet up and camping on a little bench so that you can get that first light morning look, sun's behind you, or sort of sun's across your look. You're looking at the valley, sun's coming east, you're looking west, and then vice versa in the evenings. Obviously, like animals are going to be most active, probably just very generally mornings and evenings. So those sheep might be bedded all night, and then in the morning, like if it's a group of 6 rams, like it's usually like the younger ones that get up first, the big one might get up last, or they might be totally different. But you just want to have like again, I think it's like a game of odds, and the longer time you're behind glass during those optimal periods with optimal lighting looks before the heat waves hit, before they start digging out their beds, the better chance you have. And that's just, I think if you go on a 10 or 12-day hunt, you have decent weather, you have those looks, you're in good sheep country, you're going to see sheep. Um, Put them on a tripod, big, like, these sort of 12s and 15s are becoming more and more popular for a reason. Get the best glass you can afford, put them on tripods because it's more stable and you can see movement. Also, you don't fatigue as much. And also you just feel more like you're permanently set up to look, and you start to think about where you're like positioning to glass as opposed to just like, oh, I'm going to walk this creek because it's the path of least resistance, rather than like I should be like I can see this from here, but I should be up there at first light or at last light. And how do I optimize this sort of pathway to do that, rather than just like you roll up into a valley, you're at the bottom of the valley, you throw your binos up, you swipe them around, don't see anything, turn around and go up. And like the reason I say that is we did that for so long. Like just growing up, you just go like throw up your binos, nothing's, there's no white sheep bums or a ram on the skyline, and off you go. And the reality is like stone sheep in BC, they are so hard to see in the rocks. They are like some of the hardest animals in North America to find. And so if they're not on their feet, if they're not showing you their butt, if they're not sort of in nice light where they're getting lit up, and they're in gray black rock, you have a really hard time seeing them. So you have to give yourself the best chance, the most time for that animal to sort of show himself to you.
Let's just touch a little bit on that on terms of, I know you do a lot of digiscoping and you're like very active in that. You obviously taught that course in Penticton. And I got a question on that here in a minute. How much pre-prep do you do where you're like, okay, you're doing your digital scouting, you got your Onyx maps or whatever the case may be. You're like, okay, that's a nice bowl. This would be a good vantage point. Like obviously you get on the ground, it's going to be different on the day. You look at it going, no, that's not going to work for whatever reason, terrain, maybe shrubs or whatever the case may be. But on the day, like how much of this do you pre-prep and go, like obviously you do tons of pre-scouting and like probably digitally, but how much do you like are intentional on where you're going to set up? Like, okay, we probably want to be on the west side of this bowl or the east side of this bowl or wherever, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I think I like doing it. So
Hmm.
I kind of enjoy it because you can only sheep hunt August 1st, October 15th. So what do you do the other, 300 days a year? You read sheep hunting books, you go to sheep conventions, I'm only half kidding, but I like doing it. So it's fun, right? It's just fun to think about how stuff connects and how you would travel through things. I think you got to have a plan. Like I would say, have a plan and be prepared to throw that plan out the window. Because it is always sort of different when you get on the ground. But I think mentally, just knowing, like having a plan A, B, C, and sort of mentally staying in the game if your first plan doesn't work out, or maybe there's like you get over the top and there's like two people camped in that exact spot. You're like, okay, mentally, you're just kind of floating on to the next thing. Like, okay, no big deal. This isn't working out. Like, we're gonna go here. I like the look of this. Whether like technically that's actually what you need to do, I'm not sure, but mentally it sort of keeps you just in the game a little bit more. So I would say totally have a plan. I'm doing it a decent amount. I like to do it, but it's certainly not, too necessary to be too prescriptive and be too married to something and not be adaptable. So I would just kind of cop out and sit on the top of the fence with both my legs on each side and say, like, you want to have a plan, but you want to be able to break it. And yeah, because I've done both.
Yeah. Okay. Let's touch a little bit on digiscoping. So, had a question here that someone attended the seminar in Penticton, and you talked about using Pro Photo or Pro Video when using Olin. He was wondering what are the settings you should adjust to when you're using that. Nerd out a little bit on that one.
On your phone,
Yeah,
just like the camera settings. Is that what we're talking
I
about?
pres I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's the
think
question.
like a lot of these phones are shooting in, so 10, it used to be like 1080p HD, that's 1,000 pixels wide basically. Now they're shooting in like 4K, which is like 4,000 pixels, this on the sensor. But I think a lot of times your phone is like might be set up at whatever comes out of the box at, it might be at 1080. So I would say make sure you're like changing the resolution on your phone to the maximum resolution. You can go into the settings and change the resolution to 4K. Why does that matter? Yeah, you're probably not making a video that you're going to play on a movie theater, so it's kind of irrelevant. But if you want to sort of take a video and start zooming digitally in after, so you have a 10-second clip of a ram, it goes up over the skyline, stops, turns broadside for 2 seconds, turns and goes away, and you get a nice stable clip of it. In that moment, your eye probably can't quite process like, is it legal? Is it old enough? How was it compared to the ram next to it, etc. But if you sit in your tent and you sort of scrub down on the frame by frame and you have like a nice big 4K file, like you can sort of zoom in on it, you can take screenshots and zoom in on it, and you can sort of start to piece together from different angles what's actually going on. You might be able to notice like an age ring that you can't see from this angle. And if you have it set on the lowest resolution, you might not be able to see it. Also, just generally like the way a camera sensor works, it's like it's generally setting the exposure for like the whole sort of scene as you would. So it's just going to sort of average out what's going on in the frame. Meaning, if in that exact scenario, if there's a ram like on the skyline, the sky behind it is going to be basically a big softbox, like a big light source. And so the camera is going to expose kind of for the whole frame, and oftentimes the sheep will be overexposed and like too bright and like look washed out. And so if you like tap the little focus or tap the little exposure thing and hit the sheep, and then you like drag your finger down, it lowers the exposure. And then you get like a richer image that has like more contrast and more darks. Again, who cares? Well, if you're trying to find like the contrast of annuli like on the horn, it actually is like pretty helpful. So knock the exposure down, increase the resolution as much as you possibly can, and then yeah, get it as stable as you can. A lot of people will just jack up the center column on their tripod like right away, like they'll have their legs out. My brother does this all the time. It drives me nuts. It's like your tripod is like this. I was like, I should have brought some gear over here. And then it's like, okay, I need to get a little higher. And it's just like, whoop, and you have 7 inches of leg and you have, 6 inches of center column. It's like, that's the most unstable position you can possibly be in. So get your legs spread out, use the legs first, and then maybe last ditch effort, bump the center column up, but don't even bump the center column up. Keep that down and then just get down in behind the lens. And you can do the like rock and a bag trick to hold the center column. That sometimes works. Or you can just get yourself sort of oriented either like with your body or a pack, that can stop if like the wind's blowing from like left to right. You can get a lot of that wind shake out of your optic, because that's going to be a big issue too if it's just windy, because most places that sheep live, if you're up in the mountains, it's probably going to be windy to some extent.
Awesome. Um, let's just talk a little bit about the use of your digiscoping stuff. So obviously, yeah, you're going to video your RAM. How much of this stuff are you using as proactive as opposed to reactive? Like, photographing, the landscape. How many times have I walked and I'm like, I get over there and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't take a picture, and then I didn't, I wish I'd had pictures of it.
Mm,
So, like,
yeah.
do you kind of have a routine where you show up and like, okay, I'm going to get some photos of this and have it in my camera, or my phone, so I can reference it later, get some morning pictures, night pictures, that sort of stuff, or do you not bother?
Definitely when going on a stalk for sure. I mean, I think that's one of the coolest things about digital photography and the fact that you carry this somewhat silly computer around, but it is highly useful at times. Yeah, for sure. If you're gonna go cross valley on a stalk and you can take a picture, and I'll take like a little piece of grass, or I guess a pen would work or something, and I'll like, hold the piece of grass or pen out and like hold it exactly where like the ram is, or a sort of deep dark cut or some sort of landmark. Yeah, that's really nice. It's a really good point when you sort of everything looks different when you get on the same mountain as a sheep, and it just looks bigger and it just gets really sort of convoluted. So a picture can be a nice sort of reset, and I would marry that along with landmarking everything, like mentally landmarking, just like, yeah, count the number of avalanche shoots. I've gone on stalks. I can remember this because they ended up working out. So I'm like, oh, I remember it was like the seventh pillar in, it was these like pinnacles, and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Go to that one. Or avalanche shoots. You sort of start crossing them, and you forget. But a lot of that country, like that sort of steep, drained country, it's these like really distinct avalanche chutes, and you could just count them. Like, I'm gonna go up that one, I'm gonna go four over, come down the big black one, go over two more, and then the sheep will be like in that what looks like a tiny little clump of willows, and then you get over there and it's like a 12-foot high willow patch, and the rams are laying right underneath it. And if you kind of mentally know that, you got the drop on them, especially with a bow, because you're just trying to, you want that ram to not even know you're there. So yeah, that landmarking is really important too, I would say.
Cool. On the glassing side, how long will you glass an area for? You kind of have a prescription on that, or is it, how much time will you spend? I've heard guides talk about it before. Nolan Osborne's talked a lot about it, about, the rams cycle in and cycle out. So if you're in a good area, how long will
Yeah.
you sit and wait for a ram?
I think the older I get, the longer I sit. Probably as long as I think, and then a bit longer. I think it depends a little bit on sort of the time of year and the density that you think you're in. But yes, I totally agree. If you think you're in like medium to high density sheep areas, you should be not moving as much as you think. I don't know. It's sort of nice to get a couple of like, it's nice to get maybe a morning look, an evening look, and then like another morning look or something. But I think that's like where scouting comes in. Because like ideally you have like multiple options without moving very much. So like if you have sort of these valleys that connect or something, yeah, you might glass like one spot, um, one morning, and then if you sort of found yourself in a really nice connected valley, you could maybe walk like 500 meters or something and just over the next one, and you have two more valleys to look at. So you could spend 4 days there, because you could go like morning, first morning look, second morning look, and then like maybe evening look, and then switch it up or something. Like you could really sort of burn up a lot of time there. And yeah, I think again, stone sheep is so hard to see unless they're moving and standing on their feet. So yeah, I don't really have like a rule of thumb, but more than you would think, and just give it a bunch of different looks. And you have to sort of, I think that's where experience comes in, because if you feel like you're in sort of a dead zone, like you just don't feel like there's sheep there, you're not seeing sheep sign, you're not seeing using lambs, he just doesn't. And I've been in those zones too, like sort of more in like region 6, where you just get in these like really wet, kind of weird, rain shadowy, pockety zones that just end up being total goat zones, and they're cliffy and mossy, and you're just like, man, I don't know if a sheep has ever been here. Of course, there is like rams there, and like really good rams, but if you have that feeling of like, I've been here for 3, 4, 5 days, I'm not seeing anything, like you sort of have to have the experience to be like, wow, we should probably move. But I think generally most people, myself included, like earlier on in sheep hunting, that feeling of like, I just don't feel like they're there. If you are in decent habitat, like they probably are, or they're probably around the next corner, they could be coming there. So yeah, I think the more time behind the glass, the better you are.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about optics gear. Obviously, you mentioned the 12, 14, like the big high magnification. It's sort of the new trend for good reason you mentioned. And then also we're seeing these optically stabilized like spotters and stuff like that. What's your go-to now? What are the things that you're looking for gear?
Yeah, I think the optically stable stuff is really interesting. I've just like looked at it a little bit. I think that the like from a binocular perspective, I think that the stabilized bino is like an incredible innovation for like lower 48 elk and mule deer hunting and even like interior BC or blacktail hunting or something where you're just like glassing something moving. You might have a gun or a bow in one hand. You're one-handing stuff. You're breathing heavy. You're climbing up over stuff. You're looking down, and like you can get a solid image. I think for like mountain hunting, like sheep hunting, open terrain, stone sheep, I still think like best glass is king. And I think that, there's sort of like two or three players in the game that do it really well. There's like Swaro, Zeiss, maybe Maven's probably in that conversation. Maybe Leopold's in that conversation for some guys, depending on, what you're into, but and sort of like what your price point is. But I'm running a lot of Leica stuff. They're a big supporter of Wild Sheep Foundation. I love the camera side of what they do. The sport optics are incredible. The contrast, like my eye sees that contrast really well. The Swaro stuff is excellent too. It's world class. Some people see that better. It's a little bit more of like a green tint, it seems. Both those companies make awesome stuff. But I'm running lots of Leica and I'm trying to use the biggest angle spotter they got, which is an 82 mil televid, big piece of glass, collecting lots of light. So you're like I said at the beginning of this, your morning and your evening looks, maybe you're running into sort of that lower light situation. You can still gather a lot of light in. Um, Angled for me, it's the only way to fly. I guess it's just like what I've grown to love for a lot of reasons. But yeah, there's just I think the only thing a straight spotting scope is good for is sitting in a truck. And people can light me up in the comments. I'm not saying everyone that owns a straight spotting scope because it is nice how a straight packs, like it just slides in places, right? But no, I think angle's the only way. I mean, you just get so much more articulation and like, if you're kind of in and amongst rams, you can like flip the optic so it's angling down and you can like periscope it up and basically all that's showing is literally like 82 millimeters of glass like up and over the mountain. Whereas a straight, if that makes sense, if people are watching, if you were looking at a straight, your profile of your head would be peeking up as opposed to the angle you could just dip down. Or like Kyle, if you and me are sitting next to each other hunting and we're just laying on some rams and we're just trying to be low key about it and we have the spotter here and we're looking and we're trying to age a ram, I can be looking at it and then I can just go undo the attention and just like dial it over to you and you can have a look, right? As opposed to a straight, it'd be like pass it over. So angle is the only way to fly. And then what we would do a lot of earlier on and still do is like if I'm hunting with a partner, if I'm hunting with my brother or Frankie or a buddy, it's super nice to be like diverse in your optics. So like someone carry 8x42s or 10x42s, especially like bow hunting, 10s, 8s were, we used to use 8s, sort of 10x42s. Super nice. Geovids are nice, which means angle compensating range right there. It is nice. Not critical, but it's a nice feature for sure. And then your partner has like the bigger optic. Maybe they have like 12x50s or 15x56s. Those are going on a tripod. And you can kind of position because like the bigger isn't always better. I think generally bigger is nicer. But like a lot of times you might have these like someone might be looking like detail oriented on like a 3 to 4 like 2 to 3 kilometer look or something. And then another guy is sort of like looking at these chutes and stuff that's like this complicated terrain right below you that you think there might be rams squirting in and around, all right? So I mean, most of the time, like the guy with the big optics is gonna maybe find the stuff. Not definitely not always, but it's good. Like sheep just move around, and like sometimes, I mean, definitely had this with like younger rams and ewes. Like you're sitting on a pass, the same way a human wants to travel through the mountains is often a sheep wants to travel the same way, and you're following a sheep trail, and you just go, oh, hey, let's glass right here. Kick the sheep turd out of a sheep bed and you sit down and you're looking through your spotter and then something, like a ewe is just like coming up the trail like in front of you or behind you. So it's sort of nice to have that diverse look where someone's got 10s and someone's got 12s or 15s. And then yeah, you're throwing up the spotter to check stuff. But it's fun I like throwing up the spotter if the light's good enough too, just to change it up. And like any mental game that you can play to keep glassing is a total win because you look at something, whatever. There's lots of tricks you can do. You can do it many different ways. So you could go, I'm gonna grid this out top to bottom, left to right, and then maybe I'll start again and grid it out this way. Or maybe I'll do that with the binos, do it with the spotter, or like whatever little game you want to set a timer on your watch and be like, let's just glass this for the next hour. Let's glass this till we drink our second cup of coffee or whatever, right? Like it just kind of continually staying in the game and staying with a plan of spending the most time you can behind optics. So that's what I'm doing. And then the tripod mounted stuff is nice for the reasons I mentioned previously. And yeah, I think like partnership hunting is just like a big thing. And I've just been so lucky in my life. The people that I've gotten so lucky to hunt with have been great partners and mentors and have helped me so much. And communicating with your partner on glassing and how long you're glassing, and then having this like compatibility of your optics, but also like your tripod plates and making sure everything like sort of works together to diversify your options, I think is a really good idea. And then sometimes you end up in that situation where it's like, something happens, you're trying to get on a ram and it's like, oh shoot, I brought your tripod and my spotter or vice versa, and you're not running the same stuff. So like to use like the Arca Swiss plates, most kind of standard now. I don't know how many companies are not doing that, but like your kind of Asiax, Tricer, Ciru, a lot of like Manfrotto, all are doing the Arca Swiss. That's super nice. A lot of my cameras are going to use Arca Swiss with the mount that I use on my backpack strap. So yeah, that like just little tiny things that you sort of accumulate over the years. It's like, wow, that is actually super nice that both of our things work together. And similarly, like other stuff for your partners too. Like, you guys are using the same, I don't know, stoves or maybe sleeping pads. You can share a sleeping pump, or like you can share stuff. You can kind of cross over your redundancies and and make your gear go a little bit farther if you have like a good sort of partnership and communication on that, rather than like you get to the top of the mountain and go like, oh, I have a 3 pound medical kit. Like I have a 5 pound medical kit. Oh, we probably should. I have 50 feet of rope. Well, I have 40 feet of rope. Like, oh, probably could have pared things down. So it's just a good thing to do, I think, anytime you're hunting with a partner.
Awesome. Yeah, so much stuff to consider there and unpack. One thing I wanted to touch on was kind of the last gear thing that I have for you. What's kind of the latest and great? Like you're always like I'm always learning about the latest and greatest from you. I feel like I'll see you do a social post and I'm like, oh shit, okay, that's really cool. Kind of what's the newest thing, or what's kind of the like most influential thing that you've kind of been using in the last little bit here that you're like, wow, this is the cat's meow.
Yeah, good question. Last couple of years. Oh, I think some of this, I'll speak from a clothing perspective briefly because that's where my mind goes first. I think the gear is so good these days, but what's interesting, I think what's been cool to see in the last maybe 2 to 4 years is just like 20 years ago when Sitka was the first technical mountain hunting clothing company to sort of do stuff for mountain hunters, and they were looking at what Arc'teryx and Patagonia were doing for mountaineers. They sort of looked at a layering system and technical laminates like Gore-Tex and Windstopper and merino wool and synthetics and down and synthetic insulation, all those sort of like technical features. They did that And of course, there's a bunch of other great companies that are doing similar things now. What's happening, I see in the last couple of years is similarly, there's something that they're doing that is like these hybrid pieces, like these hybrid jackets, for example, that are going to do a lot of different things like really well, and maybe not necessarily one thing the best. What I mean by that is you might have an active insulation piece with wind stopper and features like a fully featured brimmed hood and a pit zips and like great pocket layout. So probably this thing's whatever. I've been like I'm so lucky. I get to test a lot of stuff before it comes out. So like you might see some stuff from Sitka that I'm talking about right now, depending on when people see this down the road. But that hybridization of pieces that's like, oh wow, I actually can leverage like instead of having a windstopper jacket and an insulation jacket and maybe an insulation vest or something, like I can combine all those things in one piece and get a lot out of it. I sort of really like that. That's what I'm seeing right now in clothing companies, and they're going to continue to do that. You just see that a lot in like mountaineering, where it's like a really light wind jacket or wind shirt that just like you could break it down and stuff it in your bino harness or sort of yeah like these really interesting textiles. That would be like where my mind would go. I'm trying to think of what else. The boots are pretty good. The boots are getting better, although they get thrashed pretty hard. Um, yeah, I could circle back on that one. I actually pulled up my gear list too because I'm like, I should just refresh myself. I'm packing right now for cheap stuff too, so I'm always like, the food's gotten so good too, right? Like that's really nice. There's just a diverse amount of like freeze dried for everyone. Like the food was not good, 20, 25 years ago, and now there's like so many options, it's so nutritious. It doesn't kill your gut as badly as a lot of the stuff used to. So I would say the food is actually the backpacking food. Like there's a lot of great brands, but there's that Gastronome out of Bozeman that's really good. There's a couple of Canadian companies that are really good, and yeah, I think it's just like a nice thing that you feel fueled, you feel excited to eat, you feel like you can keep going as opposed to you're just like forcing down your Mountain House lasagna and scraping the cheese off for like the 10th night in a row, right? It's pretty nice.
Yeah, for sure. I had a question here. What's your go-to tripod and panhead?
I really like the Asiac stuff. Rydell's a beauty. He's such a great guy too, but super light. I don't even know the name of the product. I think it's like the Backcountry Light, probably. And then he has just a little tiny fluid head, Arca Swiss, super light, really nice how it like, a lot like what's super nice about a lot of the tripods is or that tripod in particular is like it stacks down from a volume perspective. Like a lot of the tripods, like the center column creates this like volume sort of gap that like the three legs come around it, and then you just have this like wider thing strapped in your pack, which isn't that big of a deal, but it's a little bit of a pain point when you're kind of like trying to bushwhack and go between stuff. So I really like that stuff. And yeah, I think it's like I kind of like the minimum effective dose on a tripod because like um I think you can if like you don't need one that you can stand in glass. Like I think a lot of guys are carrying like a a big tripod that a 6 foot guy could stand up in glass. Like you don't ever really need to use that. So I'm like as light, small as possible that still can hold a big optic, and I've had good luck with those.
Cool. I've got a question here. Adam, if you could go sheep hunting with any out of shape, washed up past chairman of the Wild Sheep Foundation, who would it be?
Past chairman or current?
Well, we know a few washed up ones of those, that's for sure.
Oh my gosh.
It's pretty funny.
I don't
Um,
know. I don't know. I don't think anyone's washed up. They're just well experienced.
too funny. I think we got one or two on the webinar listening tonight. Okay, let's talk a little bit about mindset of a sheep hunter. So, when I look at what you're doing in the bush, I'm watching your reels and stuff, and it's like you make it look effortless. And obviously, so many of us struggle. We're out in the field there, and as you know, sheep hunting is about discomfort, failure, all this uncertainty. What do you find like I feel like you've grown up with it, right? You almost don't know any different. That's not fair to say that, but I like you grew up with this mentality. But what are some of the strategies you use to embrace the suck? Like, how do you get through a hunt where it's just and obviously, like I've seen some of the work that like the hunts that you and Cam have been on, like your bighorn hunt and that like -30 weather, like that's insanity. Like, how do you get through that?
Yeah, I think for that hunt in particular, a great partnership is gets you 90% of the way there. Just you just leverage off of each other. You sort of help each other out when you're down. Um, I'm just like a big proponent of that. And I've been fortunate, like I said, to have so many great partners. Um, I think one thing about the idea of suffering in something like sheep hunting that's interesting is it's like we're all here by choice. Like we bought the ticket to ride the ride. We chose to be here. This is our recreation. This is our time off. This is our once a year, maybe once a lifetime thing. And so if you've decided to make that choice and the whole point that you wanted to do it was for one of the reasons was to challenge yourself, then when it gets hard, you have to tell yourself, this is exactly why I chose to do this thing. And this is exactly why it'll be so rewarding in whatever the result ends up being. So I think it's just like a good reminder. I think everyone has their drug of choice, right? Like you see people doing triathlons or ultra runs or climbing Mount Everest or, for the people listening, it's like primarily hunting or sheep hunting. And, I think we're all meant to be challenged and we're all meant to do harder things than we actually do in our day-to-day life. And so when it gets hard, I don't know, I think I just sort of tell myself that this is the whole point. Like this is part of it. And I am like so lucky to do this. And also, I ain't gonna be able to do this forever. And there'll be a time in my life where I'll look back and go, oh, I wish I could do that. And so I think about people that have come and gone, and either they're not young enough to do it or they're not here on this earth with us anymore. And I just think like, man, I'm so lucky to get to do this and to kind of waste, a millisecond of it complaining, although I have done it a lot, uh, is just sort of wasted energy, right? And I don't know. I think you sort of get when the chips are like when something's kind of hard, you complain or it's hard. And then when something's like really hard, you I just have seen it time and time again. People are just like they just buck up and it's like, oh wow, I actually have to like the only way out is out. Like I have to do this. And I've seen my wife Frankie do it like so many times where it's like she'll be not into the bugs or she'll not be into being kind of cold and complaining. And then like when it's like we're packing something out or it's just brutal, she's kind of like, oh yeah, whatever, this is no big deal. And like she had that like switch. So I think if you can like get to that switch quicker, because it's gonna happen at some point, I would say you're like better off. And then yeah, I think just maybe tactically or sort of like from a more technical, like how you could implement something would be just doing like little hard things on a more regular basis that you don't want to do. I'm not saying like you have to whatever jump in a cold plunge and not eat anything or whatever people are doing on the internet these days, but for everyone that's different, right? That might just be running 3 times a week when you don't want. Just like making a choice to do something that you don't actually want to do and like the mental resilience to do that is like powerful and it's also like it sort of multiplies. And I think like I've seen it happen so much too, where somebody puts a sheep hunt on the calendar, books a hunt, decides they're going in a year, and it's like the best thing for them because now they have something to train for. Now they have something to work out, maybe skip the extra donut or the cake at work or whatever's going on for Sally's birthday or whatever's happening. And it's like a beautiful thing. So yeah, I think like remembering all that about these mindsets that you can have and then like I don't know, just like I'm definitely like write a check that your mouth can't cash, like sort of guy of like sign up for something. Like I started doing these ultra trail runs, and the whole idea behind it is just sign up for something that I'm going to be uncomfortable at, that's on the calendar, that I have to train for. Like I have to wake up in the morning in December and take my running shoes out and run in the snow with a headlamp. That's terrible. I don't even like running that much. But that's all like positioned around come May, do a trail run. I'm like, have this foundation for, for sheep hunting, for mountain hunting, for like our lifestyle that we love, and having longevity in it and like not getting injured and being able to do it year after year and enjoy it. I don't know, put something like that on your calendar of like, I'm gonna run a 10K, or I'm gonna enter a triathlon and do the bike leg in a charity event or something. Like those little tiny stupid things are awesome because they're just these little carrots that you just commit yourself to and then you figure it out.
So in that same vein, I just had a question come in here about your off-season training. So do you have a program that you stick to, or you just go running in the snow in the wintertime with your headlamp?
I don't like to do that. I do shoot, Kyle. Like I had a pretty robust program, and then I got now like almost a 3-year-old and a 10-week-old, and it's like I'm just anything I can. Like the reason I rolled in right hot before this thing is like we're going for a little like walk to the beach here in the Okanagan. It's 30 degrees, and it's like I got my 25-pound weight vest. I got my 28-pound kid. I got 10 pounds of watermelons and cherries and whatever else is, hey, apricots, and we're going to the beach. It's not far, it's not steep, but it's like we're gonna do a family thing, and I can carry a 50-pound pack for 2 extra kilometers that I wouldn't normally get to. Just do it, you know? And my old man did that a lot too, where it's like he's walking his dog. They called him the backpack man because he would walk his dogs around the neighborhood and just carry 60, 70, 80 pounds. Like those tiny little things add up. But yeah, I do sort of have some phases and some training and some like ideal things that I like to do, but it's gotten more limited for sure in the last couple of years. Well, just in the last like 12 weeks, I guess. But I like if we want to like, we could go like really technical, but sort of like keep it high level. Um, I like this sort of like the idea of like periodization because it's like it keeps things fresh. And there's, sort of like I think it's like the Eastern European guys figured this out in like the 80s and 90s, probably along with some steroid use or something. But like training blocks of like this set period of time where you're working on one thing or a couple of things and then doing that for 6 weeks or whatever, and then switching it is actually like scientifically proven to be more advantageous than be like, I'm just going to do a bunch of general stuff kind of all the time. And so um, I like that. I like sort of like, yeah, I would speak to a couple of concepts like like from a general standpoint, like the lowest hanging fruit that you can have for fitness is like the best. Meaning, if you like working out at home, work out at home. If you like going to the gym, go to the gym. My gym is like 4 blocks away. It's like I need it to be just, and like the little mountain here, Knox Mountain in Kelowna, it's like I run to it from here, like from my house. I don't have to drive. I don't have to think. There's like 2 runs that I do. There's a 10-kilometer run to Paul's Tomb and back, and then there's a 15-kilometer lap. If I have like an hour, I do the 10K. If I have like an hour and 15, I do the 13K, whatever. It's like no mental like effort wasted on like, okay, where am I going to go? Am I going to park? Do I have gas in my car? Whatever. It's just like make it so easy to work out. Like put your running shoes like at the door, get up, put your workout clothes on, just like go and do the thing. Because all that stuff just builds momentum. It's like you just sort of like get this stickiness and you start getting the train on the track. So yeah, I like those are a couple of just like I like that. I like building community into fitness too. Like we do a Friday morning Knox hike, 6 a.m. Bunch of guys, like most of the guys that were at my Sheep Society table last year, it's like they know as soon as like the weather gets starts to get nice, it's like March, Friday morning, 6 a.m. It's a standing invite. Like we're there at 6, we're hiking by 6:15. It might be 2 guys, it might be 10 guys. Everyone's got their hunting pack. Some guys have 20 pounds, some guys have 60 pounds. And it's just this like social commitment of like, hey, we'll see you next week. We'll see you next week. We'll see you next week. And I'm not always there, but it's just a great thing. So I like the CrossFit gym here that I go to too, just for that sake too. It's like I get the same guys, same gals. I see them, we're high-fiving. I like that. I came from a team sports atmosphere. I played lacrosse. I boxed, even though that's an individual sport. it's actually a team sport because you train together and you push each other and you literally work on fighting by sparring and working with each other. So you need each other. And then like, yeah, more specifically, I like the idea of periodization. I like that sort of high intensity explosive training, but then also paired with like slow running, hiking with a pack. And like right now I'm sort of shifting in like to like hiking with a pack with weight. I'll start in like March or April. I might only be able to hike once a week or twice a week. I might start at 35 pounds, probably add 5 pounds every 2 weeks, and then like get up to basically like 65 pounds, which is kind of what a sheep hunting pack should be starting out of the gate. And then I won't really go heavier than that because I just don't think like the wear and tear on your joints is worth it or necessary. And the other thing is like, yeah, you just put, you could be potentially injuring your knees and all that sort of stuff. So I just like to keep it at 65 or maybe 70 sometimes. Get some vertical, like to go up with like, yeah, 40 pounds in the pack and like a 10-liter water dromedary bag, like an MSR water bag, and then dump that bag for the way down. So you just have less weight on the downhill. Like you just don't need that pounding on your knees. I like using trekking poles, like having some longevity, not destroying your body, but kind of getting used to that weight. There's nothing else like it. Like there's no, like, I don't care if you are a gym rat or an experienced runner. It's like carrying a backpack with weight is the only way to get good at carrying a backpack with weight. And I just think I've like learned that because I've not done that and realized like, oh, I felt like I was in good shape, but I just didn't have like the same pop when you throw that pack on. So yeah, I might be like periodizing different things throughout the winter. And then I read this like really interesting book called I think it's called Training for the Uphill Athlete. And it's like all around mountain running um and like ski mountaineering. And it like sort of finally to cardio base that everyone talks about and like the actual number of hours that you should spend per year. Um, and it was sort of talking about like, they're talking about like elite to semi-elite athletes. That's what that book is for. That's not me. I'm not training. Like I don't have more than 7 hours a week to train or something like that. Maybe like 6 to 10, 9 or 10 max. Definitely not right now. And it's like, I can't remember what the number was. Someone could look it up on the internet and tell me, but it's like hundreds of hours a year that you need to accumulate in zone two before it's like not the lowest hanging fruit to improve your fitness. Meaning
Mm.
for most of us, like we don't even do enough of that to not have that be beneficial. If that makes sense. And zone two is basically like conversational exercise. So you're running with a buddy, you're talking about your day, or you're hiking. And that's the great thing about our Friday hike is like we're talking the whole time and it just manages you're not actually working into that like next aerobic zone or anaerobic zone. I'm not a fitness expert. I just read a lot of crap because there's so much stuff on the internet. So don't take my advice, but there's just things that you can do that you're like, oh yeah, I actually can do more like lower intensity training than I think because I can do a higher volume. I recover faster. It's more fun. It's easier. It's like mentally easier to do than just like in a CrossFit gym 3 days a week, like smashing snatches and kettlebell swings and stuff, which are fun, but it's like high injury risk and also like high impact risk. I still do it because I like it, but it's probably not like the lowest hanging fruit if you're trying to, which brings me back full circle in this like long-winded answer, Kyle. And it's like, what are you trying to optimize for? And if you're trying to optimize for carrying a backpack through mountainous terrain for a long period of time, you need to train to optimize for that. Like running is great, swimming is great, biking is great. That's great. Those are fun. Definitely do those. But if you're not sort of like hitting that sort of idea of a backpack, in my opinion, you have a lot of low hanging fruit, which if people are listening to this and they're not doing that, I'd be like, sweet, do it. And you'll probably see positive results, even if it's just literally walking your dog with a 50-pound pack. Whenever you walk your dog, it will make an impact.
Yeah. Well said. Well, there's just that whole thing too. Haynes talks a little bit about it, about time on your feet, right? And with that weight, like just getting
Yeah.
your feet acclimatized to that, like that's a thing. But anyway, that's down the rabbit hole. I got a question here from Alex asking, has having kids changed where you draw the motivation from to push through the mental hurdles or struggles that can come with a sheep hunt?
Has having kids change? Can you read that again one more time?
Has having kids changed where you draw the motivation from
Ah.
to push through the mental hurdles or struggles that come along with a sheep hunt?
It makes me not do a little bit less dumb shit, Kyle. I got to tell you, man. It just, I got, I mean, yeah, I would say, I suppose, I don't know. I would say it has in other areas of my life, in being a provider and a husband and a father and like wanting to be the best that I possibly can in those areas. Sheep hunting to me, I mean, to some extent, I guess, but it's more like, I don't know. I'm very committed to it. I'm highly competitive with myself and the animal, but it's also like it's fun to me. I'm not trying to like really like, I mean, I am highly competitive, like I said, mostly with the animal. Um, it has in other areas of my life, and it has made me watch what I'm doing out there for sure. I was with a buddy last summer. It's like a whole long story, but he ended up knocking the spotting scope off this like 2,000 foot cliff. We had rams like right below us. And he did the thing. He's like, oh, one of my best buddies. And we were just on this point, and there was like this group of rams, and they were right below us, like way below us, but right below us. You could probably like roll a rock by them. And he did the thing I was talking about with the spotter, like whoop, straight down. And we actually couldn't see him. We just knew they were like in these chutes because we were glassing them around this bowl. And we came up over top of them, and we were like looking down these chutes. And it started hailing. So we set a tarp up, and we were like sitting there, and we were just waiting for them to just like move around. And the spotter was here like this, and the panhead was sticking like right here. And it was leaned out over like basically over the edge. And the ram squirted out one of them, and he grabbed his binos to look at him, and he just hit the panhead, and it just like hovered and then went over. And
Ah.
yeah. And we're like, oh, interesting. That's an interesting twist. It's like day three or something. Um, so we kind of went around, and I'll send you a picture of the country because you'll laugh at it. But we were, and he had like a, I can't remember, 3 month old at the time, his first kid, little daughter. And we were both looking at it. And he's like, this guy's legit. He's jumped out of, he's done like the smoke jumper thing, and, very like physically and mentally tough person. We were looking at it, and we were both just like, if we die trying to recover it, even though it's like a very expensive, nice piece of optic, but like if either of us die trying to get this thing, like that's not even, that's dumb. That's like not even a good story. It's like if we're gonna do that, it should be like at least trying to recover a big ram or something.
Yeah.
So it's like knocked me down like 10%, I would say, and made me think about stuff. And yeah, I guess that's been good. And just like it's I don't want to be gone as long, man. Like and we were just Frankie and I talk about it, like almost every day. It's like we used to like less than 3 years ago. Well, I guess being pregnant, so 3.5, 4 years ago, every trip that we did, we were trying to make it as long as possible and link things up. And how do we stay longer? And how do we bring more food? And how do we call the pilot to like get us in another week? And we're splitting mountain houses like right down to the end, and it's awesome, right? And then we're like out, but we're trying to go to the next thing. And now it's like it's kind of the opposite. It's like, how can you still have these awesome experiences, but you don't want to be gone as long? And like, what's the minimum effective dose? And it's like, actually, it's a total. I realize I'm like the luckiest guy on planet Earth, and no one's going to give a shit listening to this, but it's like, how do you keep sheep hunting and have young kids and do it in a way that is still like a sheep hunt? Because it is such a huge, if you're coming from the southern half of the province, you're driving 2 days, you're flying in somewhere, you're hiking off the highway, and then you do that all in reverse. And when you're there, it's like if you're only there if it takes you 2 days to hike in somewhere, and then you have 2 days to hunt, 2 days to hike out, 2 days to drive home, even though that is like actually a lot of time, it's like you have to kind of have this minimum effective dose where it's actually like worth going to do it. So we were like, oh, how can you do it? And then weather is a factor and all that stuff. So yeah, it's tough. It's a total, and it just in this phase of life, we just might not be doing, you know, these as big a massive trips, but we're still gonna, do a fair amount. And yeah, got some really fun stuff planned for the year that I'm fired up about. And yeah, it just might not be the like back to back 30-day one hunt to the next hunt to the next hunt, do your laundry and go, which is, I realize it's been an awesome ride and I got to do so much of it. So I feel super lucky just to have done it.
Can you share anything that you're doing this fall, or is it all kind of on the DL?
I just like good people. I think had buddies that draw some tags. Yeah, I'm gonna hunt with a friend in Alaska. He's a traditional bow hunter. He's just an awesome guy and have wanted to hunt with him for a long time. Finally put it together. So stoked about that. Yeah, and then just like some BC stuff. Um, I kind of just realized it's like July, whatever it is too. I'm like, oh, kind of the same as you. I always have like
Yeah.
17 ideas and I just wait till the very end. Like wait till the draws, wait till like everything is like settled. And then it's like, okay, I guess I'm doing this or this. And yeah, I'm just a total like fear of commitment, I guess you could say.
That's awesome. Um, what do you so you've done enough of it. What's the common theme with successful sheep hunters? What do you see that makes people successful? There's lots of sheep hunters. I look at the list on our and I see some less than one here, like people that have gone and they haven't killed. And I guess when we say success, success would be the measure of taking a ram. That's not necessarily the measure of success, but if we go by that measure of success, so what do you see as that the key factors that you see in successful sheep hunters that are able to get the job done?
Mm, I'm trying to think of something that's not just like the most expected cliche answer. Or a unique way of from my own experience to sort of comment on it. I think it's the people that just refuse to be denied and they just sort of have made the decision that they have like manifested this decision that they're gonna hunt and they're gonna find the ram that they're looking for and they're gonna kill it and that everything is like sort of leading to that path as opposed to like I don't know. I kind of like hate the word like try, you know, where it's like, oh, we'll go up there and we'll try and see what we do and stuff. And it's like the people that are regularly successful or just like have this sort of killer instinct, they're not trying. Like they're doing. They're like, all right, we this is like what we're doing. And then of course, like hunting's hunting. Like the cookie crumbles, however it's gonna crumble. Like weather, other hunters, like who knows. But I think it's really important. And from a bow hunting perspective, like it's already hard enough, and sheep hunting is already hard enough, and the success rate is already low enough that you don't need your own mind working against you and finding reasons for you to not be out there and trying. And the people that sort of know that, I feel like are the most successful. And it's crazy the number of times something's happened in the last like day or two of a hunt, or even like extra day of a hunt. And I think that's like a lot of reasons. I think you're learning more, you're just like in tune, you're just sort of living like a Wolverine, like you're kind of like they can go two ways. You can get beat down at the end of a hunt, or you can be sort of like rising up and like getting better and stronger and like getting in tune with what's happening out there. I think people can go both ways. And so if you think about it, I think a lot of people think, oh wow, like my best chance of getting a ram is like my first couple days, I'll be the strongest and the most enthusiastic. And maybe that's true. And I would just like argue that I've seen it be like the opposite, where it's like actually like you just need to stay at it. You're gonna get a chance. You're gonna get it figured out. You just have to think. There's like a what's that book called? it's a tiny little book about golf, which like I golfed a little bit, like growing up. I don't golf at all anymore. I have no time for it, but shit, it's like a mental health book. It's like a mental mindset around golf, and it talks about how like I forget which pro it was, like Fred Couples or something. He's like, oh, when I go warm up at the driving range and I hit a bunch of great shots, I think, oh, I'm gonna have a great round. I'm hitting it great. And when I go warm up and I hit a bunch of shitty shots, I think, great, I got all my shitty shots out of the way, and like I'm gonna have a great round. And in sheep hunting, it's like you're seeing a bunch of rams and there's just sheep everywhere, and you got to think, oh wow, like, I'm seeing a lot of rams. Like I'm gonna find the one. And then you're in a bowl, you're not finding anything, and you got to think, oh, I'm in this bowl, there's no rams, and like this is great. I'm figuring out where the rams aren't because like the next one will have rams. You just have to kind of have that positive mindset and just continually thinking like it's like being the golden retriever at the bottom of the kitchen table that like thinks like you're about to drop the pork chop off. Like the ram is going to show up like at any moment. So you just like have to have that because it's hard enough as it is. And I don't know. I think first time sheep hunters, and it's like awesome too, right? And it's a journey. Like, there's this saying that we always say, I feel like we say it every time we're on a podcast, Kyle. And it's like the year you start hunting sheep is the year your ram is born. So your journey is just starting. And, for first time sheep hunters, it's like this could be a multi-year thing. And that's like really cool. And there's not that many things in life where you could say, like, I'm on like a 5-year quest to kill a stone sheep in a over-the-counter area, but on my own. That's like really cool. Um, and so yeah, I think like if people are listening to this and they're out there or they're about to go on a hunt or they're on a road trip driving up to northern BC or something, I would say like stick with it and reference this when you're thinking in like day 7, 8, 9, 10, and you're like, well, burger sounds pretty nice, hot shower sounds nice, like stay out there. And I would be a betting man, which I am a betting man, that if someone listening to this in their sort of less than one club days kills a ram, it's gonna be in that like later stretches of the hunt, and it's gonna be so cool. It's gonna be such a great story. It's gonna be where we were last day. We split our last Snickers bar in half. We were ready to hike out, and the ram was there, and that's awesome. Like that just is such a cool thing to be able to do. So yeah,
Awesome. Very cool. So, in that same vein, when you look at, and maybe some of the people that are on the sidelines, like, oh, maybe I want to go sheep hunting, maybe I don't, maybe they're a little bit nervous, a bit reluctant, and there's all this stuff, right? There's a lot of barriers to entry, right? Like, okay, so let's say your general open season over the counter stone sheep BC. Let's just make that like a caveat. Not have to worry about saving for the hunt or any of that stuff. So, okay, so you got all these barriers to entry. You've got all these challenges. There's the conditioning challenge. There's the gear challenge. There's the being able to shoot and take it to a next level, like yourself, where you're doing archery. So there's that component. So there's all these barriers to entry. Would you say for sort of a person that's kind of on the fence that they're like, well, I'm maybe not as good a shot I should be, or I'm not in good a shape, or I maybe don't have the best gear. Um, is that more important, like all that stuff, or is it the mental game? Um, like, is the most important thing just like where your headspace is? I think
yeah,
that's kind of an obvious question in many ways, but I think there's people that are afraid to go and do it because they think they can't, but there's people that go do it that think they can that probably can and do it. And there's probably people that are really well at everything that go and do it and don't get it done because they don't have the mental mind space.
yeah, it's a huge part of it, and I think you hit on something interesting, Kyle, because I think what's missing is you learn by doing. So you get to the place where you have the mental toughness, where you have the gear knowledge, where you have the sheep knowledge, where you have the mountain travel knowledge because you went on your first one. And you can't go on your first one if you are waiting to be perfectly ready for the thing. I think that's like forgotten. And I think that we want to, there's so much information coming at us too, and we want to be like well researched and understand stuff. And that's like good to a point, but you have to sort of in hunting, like the best way to get good at hunting is hunt a lot. Um, and I think people like miss out on that idea, especially like newer people, maybe younger people in this like internet age where there's a lot of stuff that you can figure out on the internet. Like my dumbass can figure out my irrigation by watching a YouTube video, and I have that knowledge now. But honey's not necessarily like that. It's like you have to get out there. There are wild animals, there's weather, there's all these factors. So yeah, the mental side of it is huge, and then that like experience gap and just the willingness to just jump in and have something like you have to have a hunt not go right and learn all that stuff so that you can have it go right. And for me, like I'm just super fortunate that like, I was 14, 15, 16, 17, 8, like at that age where you're so dumb that you just go in and don't even there's just like no barrier to entry because like you think you're invincible anyways when you're that age and you have so much time. So you're like 18, 19 spending these trips out there and you're making all those mistakes. Like we made all those mistakes. So it's sort of baked in to not make those anymore. But I think a lot of people like sit on the sidelines because they're like trying to be ready and accumulate knowledge. And sure, like I would suggest there's a lot of sort of like gateway drugs into sheep hunting. Like maybe you want to go on a high alpine mountain mule deer hunt or a goat hunt or something, or tag along on a sheep hunt and like just be an observer and just like see what's going on. But yeah, yeah, I think you got at some point you have to go try and do the thing to get the knowledge. There's just no other way to do it.
Awesome. Very good. I got a question here. If you only had 10 days to hunt stone sheep, which days would you choose and why? Early season, late season, mid season?
Ah, man, it's so hard. I think this is a great question. I think it depends. You know what it depends on? The biggest factor for me is whatever I just did last year and if it worked or it didn't. I mean, there's so many, yeah, there's so many factors. Late season hunting is like not for the faint of heart. It has its advantages, it has its cons. I don't know, man. I I think there's too many factors to answer because it depends if you were, yeah, it just depends where. I think like it's nice to be like the hotter it gets, it's like nice to be out, like not like later on in August or something like that is like nice because it's like the bugs maybe are dead and it's been so hot lately, like for opener. But everyone wants to go opener to like get on a bunch of rams, and there's like huge pros to that too. Days are long, the weather's great, you can bring minimal gear. Shoot, I don't know. I just that is something that I spent like the reason I say I don't know is I'm not trying to like cop out of it, but like I actually don't know because that exact question is like the thing that like drives me crazy when sheep hunting is like, what is the best time? Because I don't know. And like Frankie and I just we drew a Region 6 thin horn tag and she wanted to go. Like we just had her busy. Like this is when the time was to go. Her birthday September 19th, mine September 27th. So like we would do these birthday trips where we would start on her birthday and end on mine a lot of the times. We'd have two birthdays in the field. It was awesome. I was able to like talk my mom into hanging out with our kids. We like had it all baked in to do this like thing. But of course, it was like Region 6 end of September, and we just got whacked. Like we got crushed. It was a total survival mission. No visibility, snow, like waist deep snow in the passes, like not fun. Kind of not fun. Like I wouldn't even say it's like kind of fun. It's like, not that fun. But we were totally committed. Our dates were in. Like, it was like, well, what are we gonna do? I guess we're gonna go try. And so I'm like, okay, I'm not hunting at the end of September for northern hunts. Like I need to not do that again. So but then you can have like some really nice weather and I don't know. There's so many factors. There's so many factors and like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the best time is. It'd be a very interesting pitcher of beer conversation with a bunch of great sheep hunters too. Like, what is the best time? Because I think the best time is the time that you can go, the time that you can get off work, the time that you like works in with your lifestyle and go. I mean, there's not too many people that have August 1st to October 15th to be like, I could go any of these 10 days, but yeah, I'm on that quest. I don't think there's a perfect time, but it has its pros and cons. Just like anything, man, trade-offs. Life is about trade-offs. You're trading something for sure. With your gear, with where you live, your career, anything in your life, you're just trading. Like opener has its benefits, late has its benefits, in between has its benefits, but they all trade something for something else.
Yeah, well said. Sort of in that same vein, then, uh, there's guys that have been guys and gals that have been successful in an area. They flew into whatever West Tashodi and they were successful. So they, and for some people, the quest is like, they just want to get a ram on the ground. Are you the guy that it's about the adventure? Like, there's been many trips where I'm like, hey, I kind of know where the rams are. If we go back there, we probably have a really good chance at it. But it's
Yeah.
like, it's the quest. It's about the experience. So are you the guy that wants to capitalize on the experience and put one on the ground, or you want to go for the experience and you'd be quite happy going for 2 weeks, not even seeing a ram, tried a new area where there could be like just an insane specimen there, but you didn't have the opportunity, never seen it. So what's your take on that?
I'm a bow hunter, man. I mean, it's like it's enough said. If I was trying to just get around on the ground, there's a lot of different, easier ways to do
I
that.
figured so. Yeah.
I'm kind of similar, Kyle. I mean, I just sort of have like a mental tick list, and a lot of it is like around sheep hunting history and like stories of like the Chadwick Graham and like these outfits and this cool history and these epic drainages and these like hunts and this. I don't know. I just sort of like that. There's like the stack of it's on that side of my bookshelf, but you probably have them. I can't see what books you have, but you have the like Duncan Gilchrist, the Jack O'Connor, like the Andy Russell, the Great Rams, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like you have all that stuff, and I just like I open like a book like that like almost every night. Like even just to like look at a page or two. It's just like so cool to me that we are like part of this like history, and it's like it's really special. So a lot of the sort of reasoning around maybe where I'm hunting is like, sure, theories about where maybe some big rams are or how they're doing or what the habitat's happening in that area. For sure, lots of time spent on that, but also just like, man, I'd love to one day see like see Spatsizi and like be sitting there and looking and like thinking about like Valorous Geist like cabin is over there and like just and these outfits in like Region 7 you're like man these are all really cool places and river drainages that people hunted and like it's just cool to think about. So yeah, I if you looked at my like Onyx thing on my computer here that I look at most nights too, it's just like covered in pins of just ideas of trips, right? And I think that it is really cool. And like only a couple years ago, I realized like, oh shit, I will not be able to do all these things in my life. Like the number of trips just in BC, even in like one region that a guy would want to do, and the way that you want to do them, and the style that you'd want to do them with, the people that you want to do them with, there isn't enough August and Septembers to do them. So, yeah, I love that, and it's just figuring it out. It's just like the unlock on the spot, or yeah, for me, just like that kind of cool like history of sheep hunting and that feeling that like, oh, I'm out here doing this thing that people, you know, have done for hundreds and thousands of years, whether that's like indigenous people on the landscape or, the early days of northern outfitting. It's just cool to think about.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's kind of an opportunity to do a shout out to the Conservation Orgs and Wild Sheep Foundation specifically. This is their 50th year, and so Sheep Show in 2027 is the 50-year anniversary, and it's going to be like certainly an ode to like the history of sheep hunting, and like there's all those old time outfitters. Like I just got a email from
Yeah.
Kim Needers about the Lancasters,
Yeah.
like that that and there's so many of them, right? And there, a lot of them are still around. They're kind of like tucked away. They're like back home, and they're like not really active. Like they haven't come to Sheep Show for a few years, and we're gonna try and get them back and really celebrate like the
Cool.
people that built like what we all love, what we believe in, what we sleep, eat, drink every day, right? So super cool. I think it's a super cool year, and I'm really stoked about Sheep Show and the 50th, and looking back over the last 50, and then looking forward. Where do we go from here? It's awesome.
Nice. I love the segue. That's gonna be it's gonna if it can get any bigger and wilder, it will.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be epic for sure. It's a year for the books. Um, what else do we got? What else do people need to know about sheep hunting? So openers in 3 weeks, sort of words of wisdom, things that you want to share. Maybe for that first time hunter, what they need to be thinking about for their first sheep hunt.
Ooh, yeah, we're into it now, right? I think man, I feel like we covered a lot of good stuff. I was kind of on a roll there, and for a lot of the pump up speeches, I was given the dressing room. Go get them, boys.
And then I pulled at your heartstrings with the history of sheep hunting and the 50th. Yeah. So
Nice. Um, yeah, I think just man, I would just leave people with that feeling of like, and we've talked about it a bunch too. Like, you have no idea how lucky we are to get to do what we get to do. And so, yeah, if you're even just if you're young and healthy enough to do it, if you have the time and money away from your family and work to do it, you're already in like the luckiest, like 5% of people, one, whatever it is, right? And then like if you zoom out a little bit, like living in British Columbia, you're you're like as lucky as it gets in terms of people in North America, um, too. And like, you probably experience that every single year. You go to Reno, you talk to people that live in the US, and it's like they're walking around like maybe they're shopping for a stone sheep hunt or whatever, and they're like, you get to hunt these things every year, and you're like, yes, we get to. It's a privilege. Like this has been like there is a ton of people that are working really hard to protect the opportunity that we have and promote the proliferation of wild sheep and the habitat that we have and managing like all the issues that come with wild sheep, like disease and transplants and access to land and all these things. And like you get to go do it. So like enjoy it and know that you're one of the luckiest people just to be out there. And I think if you think of every sheep hunt like you're just lucky to be out there, then it's like already a success. Like the plane drops you off, you start your hunt, and you're already playing with house money because you're just lucky to be out there. But yeah, I'd say bring a roll of Luco tape probably too for like the first time sheep hunter.
yeah, yeah. Well said.
Take care of your feet.
Yeah, or just duct tape. You just tape
Duct
right
tape
over 'em.
works.
Yeah.
Duct tape works.
Couple things. I see some branded wear. I see some Sitka gear. So Sitka gear sponsored this, their official sponsor, and obviously you're a brand ambassador for them, and they're a big part of what we do here in BC, and like a big part of the mountain hunting community. And then what's this hat you're wearing? What's the deal with that?
Oh, this little thing.
Yeah.
This little, this is a little side project. This is called Migrate Gear. It's just a sort of niche little archery accessory brand that a buddy of mine started with my help just here in the last like 10 days, 2 weeks, I guess it's been. We sort of previewed it at some of the total archery challenges. We hit the Montana one and we're gonna hit the Utah one here next weekend. And yeah, we just developed like just this like long kind of pain point of a couple of things that traveling bow hunters face, myself being one of them. Probably like there's not too many bow hunters listening in on this, but if there are some, or maybe you guys hunt with a bow and arrow for other species. There's just like never a good way to travel with your bow in your truck, and you either break it down, take the stabilizers off, put it in a hard case, leave it inaccessible in your back of your truck, or you lay it on the back seat and it gets banged around with all your gear. So we made this like back panel 1 inch molly, super modular bow carrying device that is a truck organization system that like mounts on the back seat of your driver's side or your passenger side, or you could do both. And you can put your compound bow on it. It's totally protected. It's accessible. You can shoot your bow when you pull up to a trailhead, and you don't have to like take everything off of it. So We just made them like 3 or 4 years ago and started running them, and then people started asking about them because they'd see them in our trucks, and like, well, maybe some people want the same thing. So yeah, and then we were making like a little backpack target that like my dad started carrying around a long time ago, a version of this product that was just these like pieces of foam that he would cobble together. We'd have a guy that would make them, and they weren't very good, but just developing like a better foam. So like a pound and a half, like a 24-ounce travel target that straps in the bottom of your backpack that you can mount to two trekking poles with parachute cord that swings when the arrow hits it so that it can absorb the impact of the arrow. And you can also shoot your bow up in the alpine in the rocks. So you can shoot it to practice, but you can also shoot it when you beat your bow on a 2-day drive, a bush plane flight, a 2-day bushwhack up into the alpine, and all of a sudden you're like, is my bow on? Um, and that was just something that like didn't really exist. And with a rifle, like you fall and hit your rifle, you just throw a shell in and shoot a rock at 200 yards and make sure you're zeroed, no big deal, right? And with a bow, there's never really been a way to do that. I'm talking like specifically for the type of hunting that we do, where you're just quite often just you're in rocks, like you're just up in the rocks. And so yeah, it's a really handy little thing that we were working on, and just yeah, just thought it'd be fun to do something and see where it goes. It's like it's like niche within a niche within a niche, but it's been fun so far. Lots of positive feedback. Maybe we'll even get a booth at Penticton or something.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll set you up for sure. If people are interested, you guys got it online? Anything you
Yep.
selling any stuff right now? Okay.
Yeah, we're selling. Yep. Yep. We just got inventory. So it's migrate-gear.com. And then we have a little Instagram page, which is migrate_gear. And yeah, the whole idea behind the name was just we all migrate, right? We all like travel to hunt, whether that's in our backyards or across provinces, across the country, or in mid-Asia or something. It's like we travel, and that creates some pain points for the traveling bow hunter. So it's like where travel and bow hunting meet, and that was the genesis behind the name.
Super cool. Love it.
Yeah.
I got one more question for you, and then we'll start wrapping up. I know it's getting, I really appreciate your time tonight.
No problem. It's fun.
So I got a question here. What's one piece of advice that you wish you knew on your very first sheep hunt?
Oh man. I think it's what we talked about. I think it's work hard. Well, we actually don't we quite talked on this exact thing, but maybe we talked about it before. Work harder to get into what you feel to be better sheep country, and then spend more time there. Spend more time there behind the glass. And, we could kind of go back to like technically how you could do that. But I think just like the general advice of get to where you feel like is your zone and is a high probability of seeing sheep or feels like good habitat, and then spend more time there rather than like continually just sort of like moving and moving and moving. And we would just do the dumbest stuff too, like as kids, and sort of in that idea of like the first sheep hunt, we would hike. We just thought, oh, like the farther you hike, the better it is, right? So like we'll hike, and we're like, I'm 16, Cam's 18, or I'm 17, he's 19. We would load up, pound in, whatever, get to the trailhead at midnight, didn't matter. We're hiking, pound in, pound, pound, pound. Don't stop the glass, anything. Just get to the back, total headwater fever, pound in there, get there, look, don't see anything. Okay, let's go somewhere else. Go back to the truck, go to the next spot because there's always a better spot, and do that all over again. And it's like burn up 7, 5, 7, 9 days, just like hitting these spots and covering all over. And rather than just being like, we probably walked by like the first time sheep hunter, the early sheep hunter probably walks by a lot of sheep. And I definitely did that. I wish someone would have told me, hey, you're probably walking by a lot of sheep. You should just go to where you think you should be and spend a lot of time behind the glass, and you'll be better off. How about you?
Cool.
That's a good
Yeah, no,
question for you.
I am not I am not the professional here, but it does make me think. And the one thing that we've always talked about when we fly in, that's the challenge. You get off the lake, and there's sometimes five other people that are ahead of like five other groups that are ahead of you, right? So,
Yeah.
and it's like shit. Like okay, there's people here, but if you hike 2 days back from the lake, there's not five groups of people there. So, like even if you fly into a popular spot, pick one of them, just hike for 2 or 3 days. If you're hunting for 10 or even a week probably doesn't work, but if you're doing for 10, you hike 3 days and you got to hike 3 days back, gives you 4 days away and you're gonna have the place to yourself. So I
Yeah.
think like we've always talked like we never worry too much about going into an area if someone else is there. We do. I'm not saying we don't. It's not something we talk about, but we always think, well, we're just hike. You just got to hike back because a lot of guys will like they'll hike like half a day and they're like, okay, we're hunting now, and you are hunting, but so is everybody else, and that's the foot race. And for me, I like that's for me, Adam. That experience ruins it for me. Like when I get off and like
Yeah.
if I'm a foot racing a guy, have the ram, man. Like I don't want it. Like I want to go somewhere where I'm not going to be foot racing somebody. I want to go and have a good time and experience. So just get 2, 3 days off the lake and you have it, right? Generally. So yeah.
Well, and just bow hunting. I mean, this is probably a plug for everyone to just either switch to bow hunting or like start to develop some archery only seasons here in BC so we can keep all the hunting access and opportunity and limit the harvest. I think that's a great idea, maybe. Probably doesn't fly for people that want to maintain what we have and appreciate the ability of rifle hunting, which is totally awesome too. I fully support that. But bow hunting, you have to sort of think outside the box because like you are not going to foot race somebody. You're not going to like it just doesn't work. Like you need to be able to be in a spot where you're basically hunting sheep that aren't hunted by other people, or you can do it in a way that is sort of creative. So yeah, that's why I spend a lot of time like thinking about spots and maps and stuff because it's like I want to like kind of hunt the like fringes,
Hmm.
like the kind of overlooked like okay, this is the main valley, this is the spot, there's probably a horse trail, there's probably an outfitter cabin, there's probably a thing here, there's probably an airstrip, there's a lake, whatever. And then like what's happening like in this little pocket or whatever because I agree, I like to have the experience of not seeing people. And then also tactically, like you need to be like if you're in the same bowl and there's a bunch of rams coming over, like a guy that can shoot 300, 400, 500 yards, like you just have you might as well just pack up and go before anything even happens because there's just no competition.
Yeah, you're not going to win that one. Yeah, for sure. Awesome, brother. A lot of great stuff we've covered there. Any parting words? Anything you're thinking about? Anything last thing we want to hit on?
Oh man, I just appreciate me having the intro that you gave me. And man, I just never say no to anything that you guys are doing. It's like you just whatever it is. I think yeah, I mean we were moving so fast scheduling this thing too. I'm like, yes, sure, for sure. I don't totally know. It's like, yeah, it's awesome. We've been talking for an hour and a half. It's like I feel like I get to talk to you and hang out and talk sheep hunting. So I just have just like being a sheep hunter, being here in Canada and having the opportunity that we have, I feel so lucky. And even just jumping on this and kind of re-energizing how lucky we are. It's a good reminder for me. So yeah, I appreciate all the stuff that the Sheep Society is doing. And man, we're just gonna keep rocking and rolling and we'll keep supporting however we can. So Frankie, I'm like, I gotta get on this, I gotta jump on this thing with Kyle. And she's like, well, your life is so hard that you gotta talk. We're gonna go and talk about sheep hunting for the next couple hours. Like, yeah, it's
Uh,
tough. But
Well, thank Frankie and the kids for us, and I know you got family there too, and like, I know you rushed back for the beat from the beach to do this, so we are so grateful, Adam. Like we don't take it for granted. Like you are the guy, and we have you here in our midst, and we're the lucky ones. So appreciate it. Like what you stand for, what you believe in, the support that
thanks,
you
buddy.
give, and it's something for us to aspire to. I was talking to Glenn earlier today, and I talked to him about this, and he was just saying like there's just not a better guy out there and doing what you're doing and
No,
what you
thanks.
guys believe in, and definitely believe in everything you stand for, brother, and just the messaging and everything. Like amazing. So
Thanks.
if I when I grow up, I want to be Adam Foss. That's for sure.
No, dude,
So
it's you.
yeah,
Thank you. I appreciate
yeah.
it. Right back at you and everyone here that's listening. Thanks for listening if you made it to the end and we're just
Yeah.
about that beer's almost done, so I guess I'm done.
Yeah, so we're going to do some giveaways, and that's the
Oh, nice.
yeah. As soon as we give it, everyone's going to disappear. But anyway, we give them at the end. So first of all, a couple things. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. We've got another webinar. We're supposed to have one on Tuesday night. And so I'll be completely transparent. We've been working with the government on this, and it's been a scheduling challenge. It's difficult. We're not 100% sure that we're going to be able to pull it off,
Oops.
but we have a horn aging course scheduled for July 14th. It's Tuesday night. We're going to
Nice.
plan for it. And if we have to, we'll push it. Government is trying to do their best, but there's some challenges there. Obviously, I'm not going to teach a course on horn aging, so we're going to try and get Mike Bridger on, but we're working through the machinations of that. So that's Tuesday night. So stay tuned for it. Sign up on the website. Um,
Cool. I'll be
if
there.
you're,
I would sign up for that for sure if it's happening. It's great. It's just he's so great. I mean, that's just like the coolest thing is even people that are so-called experienced sheep hunters, I try to get to the sheep aging one with Bridger like every year. It's just awesome. You just learn like one thing every time.
Mhm. Yeah, he's awesome. He really, and again, it's so for me, it's like we get like I'm by no means an experienced sheep hunter, but every time we talk, like whether I talk to you or I talk to Bridger or I talk to these guys, I am learning so much. Like there's just a litany of stuff, and like you're out living this life, you're doing it every single day. So for a guy like me that gets to do it 2 weeks a year, I'm like, there's so much to learn, and that's the cool thing is the experience, and Ed Bridger's that guy, right? He's just
For
so
sure.
good. So.
Yeah.
Um, we got that on Tuesday. Couple things I'll ask all of you that are listening. You can support the society if you like. We've got a bunch of raffles going on. We've got our Alpine Precision raffle. It's a 7 gun. Again, Precision Optics is back in that one. $100,000 with I think $81,000 in prizes. And then we've got our Wild Sheep Society Ultimate Package, which is the best gear of the gear. It's like a $41,000 package. So buy some tickets. That supports the conservation work that we're doing, supports our education, supports all the stuff that we're doing. So great way to support it. And we got a membership promo too. So if you're thinking about buying a membership, whether it's renewing or upgrading or anything like that, we've got $22,000 in prizes. It's all over on the website. So that's kind of the
Awesome.
push there. Like I said, we're going to do some giveaways. So our good friend Daryl Hosker, who when we get off the phone, text him tonight, Adam, and tell him he's got to get his ass on this podcast because I've been bugging him for years and he keeps threatening to do it and he still hasn't done it. But
I will.
Daryl, when Mike did his 9 is the new 8 version last year, talked about harvesting mature rams and all that sort of stuff. Daryl was like, this is the message that we need. 100% I'm behind it. So he donated $500 worth of shirts to us. So we got the logoed shirt that Bridger did. So we're giving 3 away those tonight. We've been giving them away at every webinar we've done. And I did a random draw. And I've got Caleb as one of the winners. I've also got Glenn L. I'm not sure who that is. And I've got Nick. So those are the 3 winners tonight. So what I need you guys to do is just send me an email to the email that we sent you this link on, and send me your address and your shirt size. And courtesy of Daryl Hosker, we're going to ship those guys out to you. So thank you guys so much for support, and thanks to Daryl. Adam, brother, thank you so much.
Thanks, Kyle. Yeah, thanks everybody for coming on. That's great.
Awesome. Great night, everybody. We'll wrap it up here. I'm going to hit end on the recording. Just a reminder, Adam, that we're still live, but I'm going to